Right. So students, is it audible? Audible? Yes. So we are starting a new chapter, and this chapter is taken in terms of audio for some classes. So for especially 10B, this chapter is taken by me, and this chapter is not taken, since this chapter is not taken for the others, we will be starting this chapter afresh. And this chapter is the first chapter in history. This is related with world history. And in this chapter, we will study a main concept. In this chapter, we will study a main concept. And the concept is about nationalism in Europe. The concept is about nationalism in Europe, and how does the national feeling of nationalism has created in Europe. That is the main core theme of this chapter. Or how does the concept of nationalism has arisen in the concept of nationalism has arisen in the minds of the Europeans during 18th century. That is the core theme in this chapter. And this chapter is concentrating on nationalism in Europe. Or when you look into the concept of nationalism, it creates a sense of unity in the name of a nation. It creates a sense of unity in the name of nation. If you look into the Indian perspective, we are having different culture. We are having different identity, different religion, different ethnic background, etc. But still, we are united. And how does this unity is created? That is what we are discussing in the context of Europe during 18th century. And if you look in the feeling of nationalism, so this chapter focus on some more aspects. First aspect which is focusing in this chapter is unification of Italy and Germany. Italy and Germany is a patchwork of many small empires or small rulers, and how does this unification has happened. This chapter we are discussing about the second French Revolution, the first French Revolution that we discussed in the last chapter in class 9. And in this chapter we are visualizing the nations. And in Indian context, the nation is expressed as Bharat Mata. The nation is expressed as Bharat Mata. And in this chapter we are discussing about imperialism. 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 Mute all. In this chapter we are discussing about imperialism. We are discussing about nationalism, etc. So these are the core themes. In this chapter. So the chapter starts with a picture. The picture is drawn by Frederic Soriot. He is a French artist. This chapter starts with a picture. The picture is drawn by Frederick Sorius, and this picture is a visualization. This picture is a visualization of his dreams, or what he dreamed, what he had dreamed is expressed in this picture. What is dreamed is expressed in this picture. And he says that, or Frederick Sorius says that his world is made up of a democratic social republic. At that time, if you look into at that time, if you look into this period at that time, the world is mostly concentrated in a monarchical style of government or autocratic style of government. And this chapter, or through this picture, picture, Frederick close. So through this picture, Frederick Sorius is expressing the world or visualizing the world as a world with democratic social republic ideas. You studied the concept of democracy in class 9. It is a rule of the government by the people. You studied the concept of republic in class 9. From the top towards bottom, from the top towards bottom. If all the leaders are elected through election, we call it as a republic. So in 1848, in 1848, Frederick Sorius visualizes the world in these three ways, or in these ways, Frederick Sorius visualizes the world, democratic social republics. So he is calling the world, or he is calling for such a social order in this system. He is calling such a social order in this system in 1848. This is a picture which is presented by, this is a picture which is presented by Frederick Sorius. We studied this, we call these four pictures which is presented by Frederick Sorius. And in this chapter, we are looking into the first picture. In this chapter, we are looking into the first picture, and the second, third, and fourth picture is avoided in this chapter. We are having a short description about the first picture. Or in the first print, it shows a series of people in Europe, America. It consists of men and women. It consists of men and women. Men and women of all ages, all social classes, You studied a class called as aristocracy in class 9. They are marching or they are moving like a long train in front of the Statue of Liberty. If you look at this Statue of Liberty, if you look into this Statue of Liberty, this is given by France towards United States of America. This is given by France towards United States of America. So in the first print, Frederick Sorio is visualizing the world with such a social order in which is a democratic republic and equality. And men, women of all ages, men, women of all ages, all social classes, they are marching in front of the Statue of Liberty and they are paying homage towards it. They are giving respect towards it. So liberty at that time was a very small social concept. Liberty at that time was a very small social concept. Liberty at that time was a very small social concept, and they are passing. So this concept was evolving at that time in 1848, or during that period that this concept was evolving. That is what that is what is visualizing by the Frederick. Once again we will go into that picture which is drawn by Frederick Sorio. So this is Statue of Liberty. On the one hand, you can see the torch of enlightenment. Torch of enlightenment. On the one hand, you can see the torch of enlightenment. On the other hand, the Charter of Rights. And the other hand, the Charter of Rights. On the one hand, it is the torch of enlightenment. And as you recall, or as if you look into that period, our artists during that time, our artists during the French Revolution personified liberty, or say stone tablet, the many symbols, a triangle with a eye which is radiating light, or many symbols which was you studied in class 9. So this at that time liberty is personified. Liberty is personified as a female figure, and you can recognize the torch of enlightenment, and the other hand the Charter of Rights of Man. On the earth, if you look into that picture of Frederick Sorio, the shattered remains of absolutist institutions, shattered remains of absolutist institutions were there. And we will go further into this absolutist institutions. Monarchical style of government is visualized by Frederick Sorio as an absolutist institutions by these words. And monarchical style of government which is so absolute relating to the rules and regulations. That is called as absolutist institutions by Frederick Sorio. That is called as absolutist institutions by Frederick Sorio in this picture. Or when the people are moving through the statue, in front of the Statue of Liberty, people, they are creating changes in the society, and as a result of this, absolutist institutions are destroyed. People, they are making changes in the society, and as a result of it, absolutist institutions are destroyed. So this is called as absolutist institutions by Frederick Sorio. So this chapter is about simply about world history. This chapter is simply about world history. So Soreus' vision or Frederick Soreus' vision is said to be an utopian vision. Frederick Soreus' vision is said to be an utopian vision, or it's an imaginary situation, or it is an imaginary situation, or it is an imaginary situation. And people of the world are grouped under destinations. They are identified through their flags. They are identified through their flags. They are identified through their national costume, etc. So if you look into this national costumes, if you look into this national costume, every country have their own culture related to their own dress styles. This procession is moving in front of the Statue of Liberty. The front or the first is United States, the second is Switzerland. At that time, these countries were created as a nation states. A nation state is a situation for a country in which the country will be already turned into a full-fledged nation with a definite government. That is what is called as nation states. And France and many other countries are just arriving in front of that Statue of Liberty. In front of this Statue of Liberty. So this is the situation. This is the situation in front of the Statue of Liberty, according to Frederick Soreus. And at that time, after France comes Germany. Germany was not a nation at that time. German unification is after 1848. They are having a flag with this in this hand, and they are having a flag in their hand, and the flag they carry with them during the procession is related with the liberal hopes, is related with the liberal hopes of 1848, or they are trying to unify the German-speaking principalities into a definite state. They are trying to unify German-speaking principalities into a definite nation state. And German people, they are trying to create a democratic constitution with a definite identity, democratic constitution with a definite identity. So at that time you must look that USA and Switzerland was already a nation states, and you have studied that. You have studied that USA and Switzerland was already a nation state. The 13 American colonies, they got freedom from their common enemy Britain, and they was created into a nation state. And back to USA and Switzerland. Back to USA and Switzerland. There was many countries. There was many countries. There was many countries. And below this following German is the people of Austria, Kingdom of Two Sicilies, Lombardy, Poland, England, Ireland, Hungary, Russia. These are the countries which are these are the people which are following. These are the people which are following the German people. And in the Christ, if you look at in that picture, you are able to see saints and angels the Christ you are able to see, sorry, in the heaven you are able to see the Christ and the angels. And in order to symbolize fraternity, artist uses this symbol, and the Christ is explained as a concept called as brotherhood. The Christ is explained as a concept called as brotherhood. So in this chapter, or what I think you know the name of the chapter, the nationalism in Europe, we are discussing with the core issues which is visualized by Frederick Soryu. And in this chapter we are explaining that when the feeling of nationalism has been created, it created wide changes in Europe. It created new ideologies called as democracy. At that time, if you look at the democracy, it was just a fragile idea, and it made wide changes in the political world. It made wide changes in the mental world, which is said in a textbook. Or at that time, the concept of liberalism was just to evolve. People began to think that we want more freedom, we want more freedom, and these things which made a vast changes, in Europe at that time. And at that time there was multinational dynastic empires in Europe. It led to the destruction of the multinational dynastic in Europe, and later it began to create a situation. Called a definite nation. A definite nation in which all the people will come under a definite flag and a definite song, what we call it as national anthem. The definite nation in which all the people in Europe, they began to, a indefinite nation in which all the people began to think that they are under a definite ruler, or that is what is created. That is what is created during this. Due to this picture. This concept of modern states was created after that. And in the concept of modern state, it has a centralized power. And this centralized power is exercised by a control over a clearly defined territory. If you look at the concept of modern states, it has a definite territory with what we call it as a predefined territory. In Europe, at that time, the nation state was one in which majority of citizens do not only its rulers come to develop a sense of common identity and shared history of this. So in Europe, led to the creation of a modern state. And in this modern state, which was absent in Europe at that time, this commonness, or people when they feel the concept called as liberalism, fraternity, liberty, equality, fraternity. And they began to develop a commonness. And in this chapter, we will look in the diverse process in which Europe moved into a predefined territorial states, and how nationalism was evolved in 19th century. In this chapter, or we will deal with the struggles in which the European countries was forced to do so in order to have a predefined nation states, or the diverse process which was created, diverse process through which nation states are created. That is explained in this chapter. Or what happened in 19th century is explained in this chapter. If we look at the concept of nationalism, the first clear expression came during the time of French Revolution in France. Or the year of French Revolution, 1789 is the year of French Revolution. And at that time, France moved into a full-fledged territorial state. And in 1789, under the rule of absolute monarch, France moved into a full-fledged territorial state. It has a predefined territory. It has a constitution, as you know. A constitution was written, or France moved into a absolute monarchical style of government with a constitution, and that is what happened during the French Revolution in 1789. Or if you look in depth relating to history, this is the first French Revolution in this chapter 1814. After there was a second French Revolution also, which we study in like a tiny thread in this chapter. This French Revolution in 1789, the clear expression of nationalism came into being, and it was at full-fledged territorial state at that times. Remote on. And the political changes which came in after the French Revolution. And if you look at after the French Revolution, the sovereignty was transferred from monarchy towards a group of French citizens. And at that time, the citizens was divided into two that you have studied in class 9. It is active citizens and passive citizens. Or at that time, the Louis XVI was forced to accept a constitution which was prepared by the French authorities in the third estate that you studied in class 10. This line is related with the French Revolution. Or this idea of sovereignty moved from which is moved from a monarchy towards a French citizens. So political changes and constitutional changes. First we will discuss about the political changes. France began to be turned into a monarchical style of government towards a constitutional monarchical style of government. There was a written constitution after the French Revolution. Conclude. What is that? So the French Revolution, declared that people will be the core idea of a country, not the ruler. But if you look before the French Revolution, Louis XVI was the core theme of the France. But after the French Revolution, people was the core idea of the nation. And before the French Revolution, if a ruler is so strong, the identity of the country will be explained, or identity of the country will be reflected in the whole world. And after the French Revolution, if the people are so strong, the identity of the country will be explained or expressed all over the world. So the French Revolution says that it was the people who would create or shape the destiny of the nations. And I'm stopping with this. I'm stopping with this. I hope you are able to understand these concepts. And if you have any doubts, like the last classes, either you can WhatsApp me or you can join into my Telegram account, and many of the children has joined into my Telegram account. You can post your doubts there. I will be clarifying the doubts if you are posting doubts through WhatsApp or a Telegram account. Anyway, thank you for joining in this platform to me, and be sharp in your studies. The time in which the exams will be near is very fast, so be sharp in your studies, use the necessary things. This is an opportunity. Why I said this is an opportunity? Because everything is near you. Food is near you, your home is near you, your facilities are near you, teacher is near you, everything is near you. No need to travel from the home towards the school to study something else. So 6 hours you can have a relaxed sleep, but 18 hours you can study. 3 hours for other extracurricular activities, 15 hours you can study. Be sharp in your studies, because those children who sit for a long time in your with your textbook or study material will be able to climb up higher. Otherwise, you will not be able to do so. You know the theory called as survival of the fittest. If you are adapting the changes in the environment, you will survive. Otherwise, you will be perished. Anyway, thank you. Good.